This video is aimed mainly towards moderate Christians. In some ways the moderate Christians baffle me far more than the fundamentalists. I mean, moderates have a way of murkifying events and stories from the Bible in a manner that the fundamentalists simply see as black and white. For example, there are some, if not many moderates, who if you question them about the story of Jesus and the fig tree, and the story of Jesus and the demonic pigs, they will basically say to you that these stories are probably parables of a sort, and they're just to convey some sort of message. However, here's what I don't get. If you believe that the Gospels are a true representation, more or less, of the life of Jesus, then how is it possible to lift out certain biblical events from the New Testament that you are personally uncomfortable with, and then choose to believe that these pieces are probably just parables? The fact is that no moderate wants to believe, or indeed can intelligently bring themselves to believe, that Jesus killed a fig tree in a temper tantrum, or that Jesus cast out demons and transferred them into the bodies of pigs. Pigs who consequently went on a rampage and drowned in the river. But if your solution is to call these supposed events parables, despite the fact that in none of the Gospels are they described as such, well, that's one hell of a stretch. It seems to me that the only way a moderate can truly see these stories as parables is if they believe that Jesus went through life acting out parables, but without telling anyone he was acting out parables, in the knowledge that the Gospel writers would eventually write this stuff down as part of Jesus' life for us to then reinterpret as parables. Of course, there are many actual parables in the Bible. The Good Samaritan is one, the story of the prodigal son is another. But these are written as parables, delivered as parables, and intended as parables. But real life acted out parables? Is this really an explanation, or just desperation? The problem here is that if you just start lifting out stories and events from the life of Jesus and calling them parables just because you don't like them, or you find them unpalatable to your particular level of belief, then the sky is the limit. I mean, using those rules, you could take almost any event from the New Testament that you personally have trouble believing, and then simply tell yourself, well, it's perhaps a parable or some kind of embellishment. Let's use the story of Jesus walking on water as an example. I mean, how many moderates believe that that actually happened compared to those that don't? For those who know anything about physics, even if you could defy gravity, walking on water is impossible. I mean, to start with, your feet need to get traction to move yourself forward on any surface. Not necessarily a problem for the Son of God, you might think. But what about Peter? According to Matthew, Peter also walked on water. The fact is that there are many committed moderate Christians who, despite their faith, will openly admit to having doubts as to the validity of some of the New Testament miracles. Of course, they deal with this by telling themselves that as long as they believe in the virgin birth and the resurrection, then the various miracles and events that occur in between, that don't carry the same religious weight, don't necessarily have to be true. These are more up for debate, and you can take 'em or leave 'em to some degree. Of course, under no circumstances dare you doubt the resurrection story, because without that, there is no Christianity, and the whole thing falls to pieces. But in reality, there's no more or less reason, from the point of view of logic, to believe the resurrection story than there is to believe or disbelieve any of the other reported events. It's quite obvious that these attempts by moderates to recategorize certain stories as parables and to ignore certain others as embellishments and fanciful writing is nothing more than a half-baked attempt at dealing with what the more logical side of their brains is telling them. But is this a real solution? Or does it just conveniently provide a carpet under which to sweep much of the crap?
Wake up!